Good evening, guys. It's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and me and Chris are having our first experience of this wonderful new software. So, thankfully, I think we've done it quite smoothly. We've put Oscar to shame so far. But guys, if you're worried, Oscar should be joining us. He says 10 minutes, so expect half an hour. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, Chris, how are you? Nice to see you again. It's been a couple of weeks. How's things?
Yeah, it's been a while. All good. Yeah, trying to get my head around what's happening on the screen. I can't see too much of what's going on. I can't see any comments, but
you don't need to see anything, Chris.
I've enjoyed watching you and Oscar sort of do the Keenan and Kel show for the last couple of weeks. So hopefully it's nice and smooth today.
Fingers crossed. Until obviously when Oscar gets here, takes over and just breaks everything. So it is putting Oscar to shame. I'll be honest. The fact that this is your first time as a guest coming on. Your microphone works, your Wi-Fi works, the apps run fairly smoothly. Been very little hiccup. We started a few minutes late, of course, because that's who we are and what we do. But yeah, we're hoping it's all going to work. So, guys, if there is any technical issues, let us know. Hopefully not. But yeah, looking forward to previewing Wolves. And obviously, I've not seen you for a little while, Chris. It's been weird without you, and we haven't had the band back together for quite some time now. So one day we are going to get the usual me, you, and Dad, and well, if Lad ever puts his girlfriend down, we might get a Lad as well. But for now, we'll carry on without him, and obviously, hopefully, Oscar will be with us very shortly. But I want to talk to you about Brighton to begin with before we move on to Wolves. You weren't there with us at the game, so I want to see what you thought of the game. How did you think it? Obviously, I know on paper a 2-2 draw with Brighton is actually a great result. And now that things have calmed down, maybe a lot of people, me included, are a bit more positive than they were immediately afterwards. But you're a positive person anyway. How did you take that game?
I think scoreline, you got to take it. I mean, the week before they sort of battered West Ham, was it 4-0 or something like that? Yeah. So I think any day of the week you're going to take a point. It's just a shame that it so happened to coincide with a week where the other teams around us got points, got wins, and it made it look like a bad result, and it wasn't. So I only saw the highlights. So interested to sort of hear, kind of your thoughts on some of the players, because some of the wide players were getting quite a lot of criticism, but overall it sounded quite good. It didn't sound like we gave away that many chances, and I know they certainly had more chances than us. They probably should have won and maybe had the better chances, but it didn't sound like it was just full throttle Brighton against Leeds. It sounded very much like a fairly, I suppose, balanced game. I know we probably scored with 2 pot shots, but I came away quite happy. Interested to see what what you make of it, really.
It's interesting, and obviously, guys, if you're watching, obviously, let us know in the comments how you felt about the game as well. It was one that I reflect on differently to how I felt on the day in the stadium, and I think I wasn't alone. Obviously, there was a few people that are starting to get a bit tense with how the game was going. But now that I look back on it, I feel like Javi Gracia has obviously made it quite clear already that he's going to be adapting to the teams that we play and adapting to their styles, and not necessarily trying to put his own style on the team, more just sort of create game plans to try and get results from specific games. And I think that's a really intelligent way to go about doing things. I'll be honest, at the time, I was one of those people, and me and Dad both were quite frustrated from the first 35, 40 minutes, to the extent where we actually missed Bamford's goal. We got pissed off and gone for a pint, and we missed it on the way down. But that first 35 to 40 minutes, it wasn't so much a difficult watch, but it was a huge adaptation from what we're used to over the last couple of years with both Bielsa and Marsh, and the way that we press, the way that we set about getting at other teams. And I mean, looking back on it, I can say I understand the game plan, and I understand why we stood off them, especially when it was just the goalkeeper and the centre backs. But this is kind of, I'm glad Michaels said this. He said he doesn't think Leeds showed up until the second half. That's kind of how I felt, to be honest. Me and Dad were both quite frustrated at halftime, even though, Bamford had got us back into the game. It didn't feel like we deserved to be in it. It felt like they dominated the game. We were a bit too passive for my liking. And I think if you watch the highlights back, it doesn't look as bad because they're not going to show highlights of a team just dominating possession, but not really creating much. And that's kind of what Brighton did. They dominated the ball. We let them have it and tried to filter them out into wide areas. But when they weren't filtering out into wide areas, they still just got through us in the middle. They got through us wherever they wanted, really. But without having like big chances at the end of it. And the big chances they created, especially in the first half, I can only really think of one, and they took it, went 1-0 up. And yeah, I think from that point onward, it was frustrating. Second half, I think we grew into the game a little bit more, and similar to Southampton at home, really. As soon as we scored and we were in the game, as daft as it sounds because of how disappointed I might have been with the first hour, I think especially after we brought substitutions on, I think if that game would have gone on all night, normally you say, oh, neither team's scoring. But if that game goes on a few hours, a few more minutes, maybe, I would have fancied us to be the team that nicked it. Not that we deserved a win. Absolutely not. I struggled after the game to say we deserved a point. But it was so weird. I think you basically look back at it and just say it's a Javi Gracia masterclass, but it is a strange one. What did you think of the chances that we created from the highlights? Because obviously I know that'll be the vast majority of what you've seen, but do you think there's any sort of pattern emerging, or is it just sort of evolution of chaos ball?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember seeing a great deal of chances. I mean, as I said, the two who did score seemed to come from nothing, especially. I mean, Harrison's from the corner, and even his sort of cross to Bamford, it was a deflected shot. So nothing to get too carried away with. It's nice to see them shooting and not trying to walk the ball into the net, because it seems like that's the only way to score. And you compare it to the Fulham game when they're just scoring from wherever they want, they just score. So we certainly do need to take more shots and not just rely on all of these neat passing sequences. So I don't know. I guess we probably played like the away team, maybe, and maybe that's why the fans got on his back a bit, because you were expecting more. But I mean, it's frustrating to say, but they are a decent team this season, and well, we probably can't expect to get too much more. So interesting to see what he does for this next game, and hoping to see us on a bit more attacking. But I kind of understand why he's doing what he is doing.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I mean, we're going to talk a bit about Javi Gracia and what we make of him so far and how things are going. But I do definitely think he's got a definitely more considered approach to tactics and coaching. And it's hard to sort of define an opinion yet. But that game, I think, and I know people are already saying in the comments, why so down? And I'm just trying to give an honest reflection of how I felt on the day, because if I don't, Chris will dob me in. But no, looking back at it, I can honestly say I think Brighton, like you said, Chris, just come off the back of pumping West Ham 4-0. They are an incredibly good team. Let's be honest, they're one of the most exciting teams I've watched since Bielsa's Leeds in its pomp. City come to Ellen Road, and I've been there for both the times we've played City in the last couple of years, and it's obviously great to see those players, but you kind of get what you expect from them, and they don't thrill me, as daft as it sounds. Individuals on that team have thrilled me. So the first time I saw them, Cancelo really excited me. I thought he was a great player, and then obviously this time to have seen Haaland in the flesh was what I wanted. But no, the Brighton were really good to watch. It was painful though. That you said it really clearly there, Chris, about feeling like we were the away team, and maybe that was what was getting on some of the fans' tits a bit. But yeah, I think in terms of Gracia and the way that he's settled in with what he's trying to ask us to do, I can definitely see there was common sense in that. If we would have done what Jesse Marsh's team would have done, and this isn't harking back to have a dig at Marsh, but even Bielsa to an extent, Bielsa and Marsh would have tried to press them, and they would have just picked us off like they did West Ham. So I can see why he applied some common sense to the tactics. And I think Mick's just put a comment in the chat here, just talking about some of the players we've got available, and some of those players came off the bench. Nonto, Sinisterra, Rodrigo, Bamford, Harrison and Somerville. So many players there where you just sort of, I think maybe as the home team, you want to see a bit of go and try and get this one, especially the position we're in. But it's hard to look back at that result and not say it is a 0.1 against them. They are a brilliant team, and where we are at the moment, three league games anyway into the Javi Gracia era. We're unbeaten at home. We've beaten Southampton. We've drawn against Brighton, who are pushing for Europe. And the only game we've lost, I mean, in the league, is, of course, Chelsea away by 1-0, which you'd have taken that under most managers. You wouldn't expect much different. You'd expect worse. And obviously bringing the Fulham game into it like you did, Chris, as daft as it sounds, probably the best we've played under Javi.
It was a good performance. There's a lot of positives to take. I mean, they're one of the games. We've still got to play them. And I know it's at their place again, but that's looking at the list. That's not one of the games that I'm worried about. Maybe it wasn't their first team that was playing. There probably is more to come from them. But
I think the encouraging thing as well is because of the way he sets up stylistically against different teams. I think we should probably expect more like what we saw against Fulham, surely, tomorrow at 3:00 than what we saw against Brighton, right?
I think so, and especially with the players we've got coming back. I mean, I don't know. Again, he didn't give too much away, did he? But we should have all of our attacking options available. How fit they are, I'm not sure, but it didn't sound to me like anyone had been ruled out. So compared to a lot of other teams, we're saying the same thing that I suppose we said about 2 months ago, because it's the same scenario. All these players coming back and expecting Sinisterra to be the saviour. But I think there's a lot he can. He's got a lot to work with tomorrow. I don't know what he's going to go with, but as always, I think we've got a chance.
Yeah, I think obviously a couple of score updates coming in the chat. We are currently competing with probably a lot of Leeds fans watching Newcastle versus Nottingham Forest anxiously. That is 1-1 there, just in case you wanted to know. But we'll keep you updated if you guys in the chat don't already. But yeah, with tomorrow, I do expect them to play differently. I don't expect, from what Gracia said, for us to set up the same. I know it's an early point to sort of ask an opinion on where you think he's going to take us. And I was listening to one of the other Leeds podcasts earlier, and the stat was, we got all the points per game that he's got at the moment. I think we finish on like 38, 39. Would that be enough? Who knows? It's a very different season to most seasons. That might not be enough. But where do you think, after 3 league games, 4 games altogether, how do you feel about Javi Gracia? Do you feel more confident? Because despite, obviously, I know people might think I sound negative, but I do feel a lot more confident that this manager has a chance of keeping us up than I did a few weeks ago. You'll be able to see I've been joined by a kitten called Furpo, which you'll be glad to see. She'll just pop around whenever she wants. You can't tell this cat now. But Chris, where do you stand on Javi Gracia so far?
I think I'm happy so far. I mean, it's obviously a really small sample size, so I guess in a couple more games we'll know, we'll have a better picture. But it's been a lot calmer on the pitch, more composed. It seems like we want to play with the ball. Hopefully, our passing and chance creation sort of increases. It isn't just dependent on the chaos, which part of me worries that the chaos was helping some of the players like Nonso and Somerville. I think they maybe benefited from the ball sort of bouncing around in the middle and them having the pace and the skill to get on the ball. But I think over time he will be able to develop the team to where we need, really. I think 38 points probably would be enough. I'm not thrilled about him. I'm not sure I want him to stay next season. I know it's too early to say that, but I see him very much as a temporary manager at the moment, unless he does go on to a huge winning run, which seems unlikely.
It's one of them where I think you listen to his press conferences and he's very likable, very understated, doesn't do too much drama, quite refreshing in comparison to what we had before. Just go away. Honestly, why did I do this? But yeah, with the way that he sets us up, I like that he seems to be a thinking man. He's a proper coach. He takes into account what he's expecting from the opposition. And I don't know, some people would prefer to see a manager set his stall out and go, this is the way I play. This is the way that I think we're going to be successful. But honestly, man, she wants to be famous, this cat. Go away. But yeah, no, with the way that we've adapted to the different games, and the Fulham one is going to be the one that most people have enjoyed to watch. Obviously, we were at the Southampton game, and I've still got the bruises from the Southampton game. It was a wonderful ending, but again, for the first hour of that game, I can't say I was excited or happy. And I think the one thing we're going to have to get used to under the Gracia reign is just that he is conservative. He is going to try and make sure that one thing I do think that he's done, he's made us harder to beat. And for a team that has won the least amount of games in the league this season, that's really important. Don't get me wrong, we need to start turning draws into wins. But to not lose games, especially the only one so far where it felt like a disappointment was probably Chelsea. But on paper, you look at a narrow defeat away at Stamford Bridge and you don't feel like that's a terrible result that any other manager could do differently. I think I definitely have more faith in him to keep us up than what was there previously, both under Marsh and in the temporary reign of Skubala. But I kind of feel like, and I think I said this to you after the game, and I'm not quite as hot on it now, but I just think with Javi Gracia, I think he'll be hopefully the man to keep us up this season. But if he does keep us up this season, I struggle to see him being in charge of us at the start of next season. Just because I'm not sure Leeds fans will be able to get behind this style of play, whether it is just constantly adapting to other teams or having to take a team like Brighton and give them the impetus and sort of sit back and give them a lot of respect. I feel like Leeds fans have become accustomed in the last few years to let's get at them. And that's not something that's just because of Bielsa and Marsh. I've been going to Leeds long enough to know that that was the same in the earlier years. It was the same when I was a child. It was the same as a teenager. Leeds fans have always wanted the players to wear the heart on the sleeves, go and get at the other side. And like you said, Chris, don't be the away side in a home game. You fuck off. They're always going to want to go and try and win the game. And I'm not sure that Leeds fans will be able to take to this long term. What do you think it's one of them where he could be here at the start of next season? And do you think it does depend on if he keeps us up, he gets it permanent? Or do you kind of think, regardless of what the result, whether he keeps us up, takes us down, they are looking at other options for next season? Otherwise, there would have been a longer contract.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, certainly fearing the worst if he takes us down, maybe he would stay. Maybe he would be prepared to stay on. But I think if we stay up and we get the ownership change that we're expecting, I think that would be the natural time anyway to get in the manager they want.
Yeah.
Whether it's one of the ones we looked at before or whether it's someone different, I'm not sure. But I think for now he's the right person. I think a lot of the teams down there, there's so many teams in the relegation battle, and I think a lot of them are going to be really tight. They're all going to be trying to scrape any point they can, and I don't think people need to win every game. It's going to be points here and there, and having that kind of sensible approach is probably what we need. It's not necessarily what we want. It's probably not getting us excited for tomorrow, but if it gets us points, then no one's going to care.
Yeah, I mean, Michael's just hit the nail on the head. He doesn't really press. He moves side to side in blocks and stays patient, waiting for openings to attack. I mean, as much as it's just look at the talent that we've got, and look, I'm all for it at the moment. The points per game he's got looks like it's going to be something that gives us a chance of staying up. So we've got to get behind it, whether we like to watch it or not. Let's be honest, staying up at the back end of last season wasn't pretty. Would you take staying up for an ugly, however many games we've got left? Yeah.
It was exciting last year, at least. So there was some excitement towards the end. But maybe we don't want that. We want a calm 1-0.
Excitement or pain? I'm not sure which it was.
Yeah, I think we'd take some more 1-0 wins, I think, and just scraping it, not giving the opposition any chances. And like we did at Southampton. I think that probably is the blueprint for how we need to do it at home. Maybe just limit them and see if we can nick the odd goal.
I think you're definitely right to talk about goals, and obviously we're going to come on to Wolves and start previewing the game tomorrow. And so many different kind of narratives to follow. Obviously, they're the joint lowest scoring side in the division. They haven't had a striker score for them in over a year. But at the same time, this is a fixture, Leeds United versus Wolves, that just doesn't end 0-0. It hasn't ended 0-0 for nearly 40 years now. We tend to both score goals. The daft thing is, despite being like the lowest scoring side in the league since Lopetegui came in, they've obviously I can't get rid of them. The lowest scoring side in the league, but they've only failed to score in 3 of his 11 games. 2 of those were against Man United and Man City. So you'd imagine, I mean, the other team they didn't score against was Bournemouth. So, swings and roundabouts, we could easily keep them out. Gracia seems to have solidified our defence a little bit more than was the case previously. It's just hard to see this one being a goalless draw, and obviously getting a couple of goals last week after not scoring in both the games against Chelsea and Fulham. And obviously, like you said, Chris, with the personnel coming back available and getting the minutes towards the back end of last week as well, you've got to sort of feel like it's going to be tense tomorrow, right? It's as much as it's not going to be sit off and respect them the way that we did Brighton. You've got to think that I think it's going to be patient. Let's see how they come out and react, and maybe even keep it 0-0 to 60 minutes and see what we can bring off the bench to sort of get at them at that point. I'm just going to stop trying to move her out of the way now because I've lost.
That's for the best.
What do you make of Wolves?
I haven't watched them too closely. I mean, normally I think of Wolves and I think of this sort of time-wasted, dirty kind of tactics team. Whether they're doing that so much now, I'm not sure. But they've still got a lot of the players that's what you remember them for. So I imagine that's the way they're going to do it, and they're going to be playing really slow, passing it around the back. So I don't think there's going to be that many goals. I think it is going to be really tense, and I think it's going to be more on Leeds to step it up. I think Wolves probably want a really sort of slow game. I think that probably suits them better than it suits us.
Yeah, I don't think as much as they're obviously slightly more football orientated than they have been in the past. I don't think they've completely moved away from that god-awful style that just makes you want to pull hairs out of your eyebrows and eyelashes. Just fuck off. It's painful to watch with the time wasting when you blocked a shot with your own head and you stay down like it's a head injury for 5 minutes. At
least he's not there, Connor Cody. He's
no. No, I mean but we'll find someone else who's an unbearable prick this time tomorrow, won't we? Let's be honest. That's the way they are. Yeah, I mean they've improved dramatically under Lopetegui. They were bottom of the league when he came in, 13th now. But at the same time, it's so tight in the table. Obviously, only like 5 points separating bottom of the. Oh, hello, here he is. We'll give him a minute. He's clearly not ready. You can't see this. I can just see the blank screen that has joined the stream. We know who it is, but we'll give him his time to get ready. But yeah, with Lopetegui, he's taken them from bottom of the league to 13th, but there is only 5 points between bottom of the league and where they are. Obviously, someone asking in the chat about Palace as well, obviously sacking Vieira today. Will that make a difference? We had a brief conversation on it earlier, but I think Wolves will be okay. I feel like they've got a manager that you kind of look at and I feel like he'll keep them up. If we take 3 points off them tomorrow, obviously, we drag them right back into it. If we draw tomorrow, we're both still pretty much where we were. But if they win tomorrow, you've got to kind of say they're safe and we're borderline fucked. It is a 6-pointer. It's a huge game for both teams because they're not out of it. We can drag them right back into it with a win tomorrow.
Yeah, they're not out of it, but I still think they can afford to lose. If they lose, yeah, we go just 1 point behind them, but they're still close enough to 30 points, so they don't need that many wins to get over the line. I think they're too good to go down. I think Wolves and West Ham, I think, are the two that I think, although they're in these positions at the moment, I think they will just get sort of miles ahead and sort of go towards Villa, and the rest of us will kind of battle it out. But I know no one's too good to go down, and I think whoever finishes third bottom, there is going to be a decent team who ultimately goes down. It's like another season, I suppose.
I don't disagree with you, especially on West Ham. And like you said, nobody's too good to go down. But you look at their squad, and they shouldn't be anywhere near where they are at the moment. They've just got to latter stages of a European competition. I know it's not the Champions League or the Europa League; it's Conference League, which make of it what you will. But they're a good team with good players, and obviously red card played a part in the result the other night for them in Europe, but that will boost players' confidence, scoring 4 goals in a European game. Scamacca getting goals again. I think Jared Bowen getting back on the score sheet, a couple of goals there for him. Yeah, I think West Ham will come good. They've kept faith in Moyes, and it's different styles. You look at the contrast between West Ham with David Moyes in the relegation zone, keeping the faith, and then obviously you look at Crystal Palace and nowhere near the relegation zone, but getting rid of Vieira. But I think I was listening to Phil Hay earlier, and the 3 sides with the worst form since coming back from the World Cup. Palace, obviously, which is why they've got rid of Vieira. Us, which is why we got rid of Marsh. And Leicester, weirdly enough, the only side out of that bottom 3 since the restart that haven't got rid of Brendan Rodgers, to Dad's dismay.
Despite being so close to coming to Leeds,
Yeah, obviously. With Wolves, I do tend to agree with you. I wouldn't put them as high as West Ham, despite obviously the league position. I'd feel more confident that West Ham can get themselves out of it. I feel like we could drag Wolves back in somewhat, but at the same time, I do think they're borderline. If they were to get anything out of us tomorrow, they are too close to a win in particular, and I think we'd struggle to pull them back in. Here he is. Welcome along. How are you doing?
How are we, guys? You okay?
I'm good, mate. It's nice to see you. You are.
Is my mic okay, first and foremost?
It's all right. It's all right. It's nowhere near as bad as I've heard it previously.
That doesn't fill me with confidence, mate.
It sounds very loud.
Yeah, it's loud, but it's fine.
Okay.
You also sound like you're in a spaceship, but I like that vibe. It's fine.
Okay, we'll go with that vibe. We'll go with it.
I mean, I'm gonna jump back, Oscar, because you've missed a couple of bits. I want to first of all get your take on the Brighton game, because we didn't do a player rating, so I want to know how you felt about the game. First of all, how did you feel on the day? But then also, has it sunk in and you feel a bit better about it since? Where do you stand on Javi Gracia? And then we're just starting to talk about Wolves. So let us know what you think about Brighton and Gracia first.
Yeah, it was okay. First half. First 30 minutes, I thought we struggled a little bit. Well, a lot. I think Brighton, if it has been a little bit more clinical, probably could have finished the game in the first 30 minutes. But we fought back well. I thought the character was there. And yeah, I think under Javi Gracia, it feels to me like you're going to see a different kind of approach every single game. He doesn't have a specific system as such. I think you're going to see it's going to change things up quite a bit. I think you're going to vary from pressing high, dropping a bit deeper like we did against Brighton. I think he's just going to set up depending on the opposition. And short term, it probably suits us quite well, that, because I don't think we're particularly recruited well in terms of players that can play in one fixed system. We've got talented individuals, but there's never been a time in the last sort of 2 years really where we've looked particularly great in one system. So having someone who can just change things up a little bit is working okay for us. But yeah, we've got to start winning games. It's quite simple as that really now. It's it was better against Brighton, but it's still not enough. We've got to show we've got that dog in us a little bit. You're looking at Forest tonight.
You love the dog, don't you? You love that.
We don't. We haven't got it in us at this moment in time. That's the frustration. Maybe we showed a little bit of it against Brighton, but it has to be more now. We have to. It feels like if we get a win tomorrow, I think it's absolutely massive. But if we draw again or lose, even worse, lose the game, it's just getting more and more nerve-wracking. It's getting less and less likely we'll stay up. And listen, this might not sound negative, but the reality is it's very, very tight down there.
We are 19th. We're allowed to be negative.
I think so, yeah. I think we are allowed to be negative because I think we've got into a situation now where we've got Sinisterra back, Rodrigo back, Nonto not starting games. They simply have to be on the pitch tomorrow. They
Yeah.
have to be on the pitch. So at least Nonto or Rodrigo, for me, Sinisterra, depending on how fit he is, they have to be on the pitch tomorrow. There's no question to me about that. People will talk about Harrison goal and assist, but I'm not being funny. It wasn't a great performance from Jack Harrison. It wasn't a great performance from Patrick Bamford. No. We can't keep saying that, they bring a lot to the system. It's all about just ruthlessness now. Our two most ruthless players are Sinisterra and Rodrigo. Our most creative players, Nonto. They have to be on the pitch. Wolves are going to sit in against us. We're going to need that little bit of creativity tomorrow. And the problem is, in terms of, yes, I know there's a case of do you throw them straight in, but I don't feel like it's throwing them straight in because Bamford, Harrison, Aronson have had so many chances now, week in, week out. Yes, Bamford scores a deflected goal against Brighton. That's not going to change my particular opinion that he's not a particularly ruthless footballer. He's a good footballer, but he's not a ruthless footballer. We need ruthlessness in that team at this moment in time. Harrison, similar vibe. I think they're okay. Amongst better players, I think they're okay, but they're not going to carry us on their own. They're not going to do it on their own. Sinisterra, Rodrigo, Nonto are the players that can carry this team on their own and deliver consistent output, consistent performances. And that's what we need at this moment in time. And listen, maybe I'm a bit negative before the game because I'm gearing myself up to the fact that Rodrigo, Sinisterra will start on the bench tomorrow. And I'm kind of getting annoyed before it's happened, but I just have that feeling it's going to happen. And I can't be positive about that. Because we can see first tomorrow it's a 1-0 game. Wolves are absolute nightmares to play when you're 1-0 down to them. Absolute nightmares. Time wasting, a little bit of everything. They're just the masters of defending 1-0 leads. And that is something I'm very fearful of. I'm not going to lie. We have to score first tomorrow.
Mate, left back's just determined to get in this stream. Can't help it. To be fair, the vast majority of that is similar to what we've kind of said the first half hour of this show anyway. So I'm glad that we've got your take and it's not too far.
Just to say to Scooby D too, I'm not saying drop Paddy as such. We can play Rodrigo and Bamford up top together, but we can't just keep saying Bamford, Harrison, Aronson, and even Somerville to an extent. I think Somerville has got the potential to be a little bit different, but we can't keep saying that that's our front four. We're going to stick with it. It isn't delivering.
We're obviously going to get to the lineup prediction, so let's save that for there because
of course.
I think me and you, weirdly enough, are going to be quite aligned on certain topics from what you've said so far. Chris, maybe not. I'm not sure, but we'll see. We were just talking about Wolves when you jumped on, Oscar, and just sort of saying obviously that they don't tend to score a lot of goals, but have only failed to score a few times so far under Lopetegui, much improved under him. They've obviously gone from bottom of the league to 13th. We are expecting a different game from what we got against Brighton, definitely. We're expecting, as you said, an adaptable sort of formation, adaptable match plan more than anything from Gracia. And interesting to hear you say that. I think from what you sort of said in your opening gambit there, that you kind of think that we're going to take the game to them tomorrow and they're going to do a bit like what we did against Brighton and sit off us and give us a little bit of respect. Me and Chris were just talking about the Fulham game and how that was probably the best performance, weirdly enough, despite it being on paper the worst result, only time we've lost by more than a goal under Gracia. Do you think that we will play a bit more like we did against Fulham, against Wolves tomorrow? Because if we do, I'll be honest, especially with the personnel available, and especially, I mean, it does depend on who starts. Like I said, we'll get to lineup predictions and stuff, but I'd be really enthused to see us play anything like we did against Wolves, because despite the result, it was a good performance, and on a different day, now that something has, I know it wasn't going in off Bamford's arse, but it's a lucky goal. The fact that it's deflected over the keeper, gone in off the bar. Harrison scored a 1 in a million shot for him. Now that these players are sort of getting into a bit of form, maybe that Fulham game, we play it again tomorrow and we do put one of them in. And if that's how we're going to play tomorrow, I'd feel a lot more enthused, and especially, talking about lineups, but we'll get there. Do you think that is the way that we'll set up tomorrow, Oscar?
I'm hoping so. It's that better on the sound, by the way?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that is better.
If I say no, he'll only keep fucking with it. So we just say.
Is it better? Is it better?
It's great. Go on, carry on.
I'll go with it. Yeah, I think the big difference in that game was we set up in a 4-3-3. We saw Adams, McKennie, Rocco in the midfield three. And to be honest, I'm a little bit stunned we haven't tried that since. I thought it worked really well. And listen, if you're going to go off results bias and say we lost the game, how can it possibly have worked well? We lost the game because Fulham scored 2 absolute screamers. That's the exact example in the fact that we didn't have that ruthlessness in the final third. A Sinisterra or Rodrigo on that pitch, we don't lose the game. I genuinely think we get through. I think we may concede the first goal, but I think we get back into the game. I think we created that many chances on the day. That was a big thing for me, and it impressed me. And I thought,
Chris, I know you can't see the comments, but Scooby-Doo she's put, it's like how sounds sound when you goes to the swimming baths, kind of. Just wanted to interrupt Oscar there.
Great. Okay. I'm having a nightmare with the sound on the live streams. I just don't know what it is. I don't know why it just doesn't like me. It's just a weird team at this moment in time. I think it's one of those about let's just try and stay up first and foremost. And the Forest game hasn't really improved my mood. To be fair, too much temp name there. It hasn't improved my mood, but. Yeah, I like what I saw against Fulham. That was our best performance by a distance. I liked what I saw for large spells in the second half, to be honest, against Brighton. We changed things up a little bit. We put Nonto on. We had that 1v1 threat out wide. You saw more out of Harrison. And that's the exact point. Maybe I sounded harsh before. Maybe I did sound harsh before, and this is what I said about Harrison and Bamford. But there is no hiding from the fact that their performances went up a level when Nonto came on the pitch. Yeah. When the pressure was less on them to carry the team, when it was more about there being more side pieces of the team, supporting Nonto and getting us back into the game, I thought it worked a lot better. And I think that's ultimately what we need. It's a bit like Leeds without Rafinha in the team last season or the season before that. You saw a noticeable drop off, and that's what we're seeing at this moment in time. That's why I'm frustrated that Nonto, we've had him available the last 2 or 3 games and we haven't used him. I can't understand that decision. But listen, I'm willing to back Gracia. I think he's still a good coach. I think he's improved us so far. I can't really ask for much more than that. He inherited a dreadful situation. But it's just, I don't know what to expect tomorrow. I think it's all about who scores first. If we score first, I think we can settle into the game pretty nicely. Yeah. If they score first, I think it's going to be a really, really scrappy game, but we lose narrowly. And it's a tough little situation we've got. And the thing is with Wolves as well is a little bit like Fulham. They've got that technical quality in midfield in the form of Neves, Moutinho. They can keep the ball as well. So we have to take that into consideration too. So you don't want to go 1-0 down to a team that can just keep the ball, and control things a little bit. You want it to be. You want almost a little bit of chaos ball about it, but not too much. Not Jesse-style chaos ball. I'm talking a little bit of chaos ball where you're making Wolves a little bit uncomfortable. If it's a game where it's played at a slow tempo, Wolves will love that all day long. And that's where you need your Nonto starting, your Sinisterra starting, your Rodrigo starting. But it's a big, big game, this one. There's no getting around it. There is absolutely no getting around it at all. It feels, I'm not going to say must win just yet. But we have to see.
You're on your own there, mate. I think we already have.
I'll go for it then. I thought it was going to be a hot take saying it's a must-win away from home, but it's kind of getting into that territory. We need 5 wins, roughly 5 wins, and a couple of draws to stay up. That's what we need, roughly. In terms of as much of the results have gone against us in recent weeks, it's still clear what we need. Not every team in that bottom 8 is going to win every game. That is clear. 40 points will be enough. I still believe thoroughly that 40 points will still be enough. So I'm not going to worry too much about the other results, even if I did moan about it a minute ago. But I don't know. It's just.
I think we are lucky to be having the season that we're having this season. If we had this season that we're having now, it's a really hard sentence to understand that. I know that. But the way that we've played and the results that we've got this season and where we are in the table, any other year, we probably would be cut adrift by now. Let's be honest. We would have been a Norwich or a Watford last season. We'd have been.
I don't know about that.
We'd have been in serious trouble.
We're in serious trouble now.
But that's the thing. There's so many other teams around us where you can look and go, well, they're in serious trouble too.
Yeah, there is that.
But
I think
comfortably in the table.
The league is better now than what it was last season. The league's better now than what it was last season. You've seen the drop off from Palace and Wolves. They haven't really done anything different from what they did the year before. West Ham as well. Leicester, you've seen a lot of drop off there, and teams have kind of gone on the rise, like Brentford and Brighton. The teams that have come up are better than the ones last season. Fulham, are clearly a better team than what we had last season in terms of the promoted teams. Bournemouth are also a better team. And who else came up? Forest are also a better team as well. So I do think the quality's better. I think we're lucky that we had the start we did. 7 points in the first 3 games.
Absolutely.
Then we would have been cut adrift. I mean, our form has been absolutely... It's diabolical. If you look at our form since the third week of August, it is absolutely, totally unacceptable. If we're being totally honest, it is laughably bad. And we would be 6 points adrift of safety if the table started after the Chelsea game. And listen, that's a theoretical, but this is how bad of a situation we're in. We haven't really got any momentum. We've got to rebuild our own momentum, and the only way we can do that is by getting wins. Tomorrow, getting wins, just putting some wins on the board, and just win. I don't know how many other times I need to say it. We haven't lost that many games. We have been. I think you have to look at it. If you look at it truthfully, we've been in games, probably 95% of games this season. We've been in. So you've got
to do more than be in games, haven't you?
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that. But the point is, there is games you look at and you think that could have gone either way. But again, I can say it again, we haven't got that dog in us to see those games out. We haven't got it.
I'm going to ask you about, just because Nigel's put a comment here where he said 38 points should be enough. 15 points from 12 games required. Chris, how many points do you think keeps us up, in all honesty? And how much do we need?
Yeah, I think 5 wins probably is about right. I don't think it's time to panic. You'd be surprised to hear. I think the fact we can go as high as like 15th with a win, I think suggests we've got plenty of time. If we're cut adrift where we can win and can't move out of the relegation zone, I'll be worried then. But the way it is, it's not a crisis, and I think a point tomorrow would still be okay. I don't think that the teams around us are going to get many points tomorrow.
Wow.
I know that we can't predict. We've seen strange results, and who knows when it comes to Leeds. But I just think there's plenty of time. There is 5 winnable games out there.
I mean, Derek just saying 36 points might be enough. I struggle. I think it'd have to be.
It might be, but
it's hard to say.
I'm not sure. I think the other teams around us are just getting it done a lot more than what we are, in all honesty. And
a couple of people as well in the comments saying we've only won 5 all season. There's been numerous times, and I think it's still true now. If I say it, I might be wrong, but top 8 divisions in English football, we've won the least amount of games this season. And to sit there
and shambles, we won 2 out of the first 3 games.
Exactly, but to sit there and think that we win 5 games between now and the end of the season, I think you've got to be incredibly confident to feel that.
I think just one thing I would say is when you get 1 win on the boards, it will seem a lot less big kind of thing. When you get 2 wins on, if you would say if we won 2 out of the next 3, all right, maybe right off that Arsenal game, we somehow win the game tomorrow. We somehow win the game against Forest.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it looks very different. All of a sudden, you're talking, that's 3 wins now we need.
Palace at home are huge.
And you got Palace as well after that. So you look at our next 4 games. If we can win 2 of those, I think that's the minimum we've got to be aiming for, by the way. Yeah. All of a sudden, it feels a lot less big. And that's something to point out as well. If we keep drawing the games, draws are absolutely worth nothing to us at this moment in time. I would rather us go absolutely. If it's 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, I would go for it. I don't care. We might as well lose the game. Honestly, we might as well lose the game at this point, because realistically, a point is not going to make. Maybe it might make a difference come the end of the season, but right now to us, we have to absolutely go for it.
Well, put it this way then: the next 4 games, like you said, you rule out Arsenal because no one's expecting anything from Arsenal. Let's say hypothetically we do win both of those 2 home games. We win Palace, we win Forest. If we were to get a point tomorrow, I mean, I know it's the daft thing to say, but 7 points from 4 is better than 6.
Exactly. It feels very different now.
No response.
It feels very, very different then. If we do get 7 points from 4, the league table. I can pretty much guarantee if we get 7 points out of 4 next 4 games, we'll probably get ourselves back out of the relegation zone, maybe temporarily. But I can't see us still being in the relegation zone if we put a run like that together. Or we'll certainly be a lot closer to being out of it. It might be goal difference in it, but it will look a lot better, is my point I'm trying to make. It will look a lot better. And again, though, we haven't won these games in the first bit of the season. Wolves, okay, fair enough, Wolves we won. Forest we got beat. Palace we got beat. We can't keep pointing at these games like tomorrow, Forest, Palace, Bournemouth, Leicester, and saying, oh, they're winnable games, when we haven't been winning them all season. We have to start delivering. And for me, the ultimate way of doing that is getting the most clutch players who are going to deliver in key moments on the pitch.
Yeah.
Absolutely have to get them on the pitch and have them fully fit and firing. Now, I personally think, you look at the teams in that bottom 8, there is no team in that bottom 8 who's got anywhere near the goal threat that what Rodrigo carries at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. What's the top scorer on in that bottom 8 teams? Who's the next highest scorer outside of Rodrigo? They won't be on many more than 7-8 goals, I guess.
But it is Rodrigo out of the bottom 9 teams.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And if you look at Sinisterra's goal rate, for games played, it's absolutely brilliant. It's one that is among the best of the wide forwards in the whole league, or wingers in the whole league. So, there are positives to it, but we have to start managing it well. Bringing Sinisterra on with a minute to go against Brighton, what's that achieving?
In answer to your question, Maddison is only 1 goal behind at Leicester. He's on 9, Rodrigo's on 10. But Rodrigo has missed quite a...
I was going to say, Maddison's probably played every single game this season, I'd imagine.
Harvey Barnes on 8 as well.
What's Rodrigo on?
Rodrigo's on 10.
I thought he was on 11, Rodrigo.
Well, that's including cup competitions.
Well, yeah, okay. Let's say the league, okay.
But yeah, 10 league goals, but minutes per game, he's actually better than pretty much everyone other than, I think, Haaland and Harry Kane. So
that's the overriding kind of point. I'm surprised. To be fair, I didn't realise Maddison and Barnes have scored that many goals, but realistically, I still don't see Leicester dropping. To be fair, but it's just that's what I point. The pieces of the puzzle are there to keep us in this league. I'm convinced of that. People that are saying this team isn't good enough to stay up, I totally disagree with that. I do still think
what is.
If you've got Bournemouth would kill to have Sinisterra, Nonto, and Rodrigo as their front 3. They would kill to have that. And all I see is just moaning about Rodrigo.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry, mate?
I was going to say, so would we. We haven't seen it all season. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. But again, there was no excuse for it against Brighton to put Sinisterra on so late and then wait for absolutely an awful first half to put Nonto on. That was completely self-inflicted, and Jesse Marsh completely mismanaged the players when he did have them available. It just feels like the season's been a complete waste so far in that kind of sense. But that's the overriding point is this team is good enough to stay in the league.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it tactically good enough to stay in this league? I don't know. But quality-wise, this team is good enough to stay in the league. You even look at people like Max Berber. The likes of Bournemouth would love a Max Berber in the team. They'd love it. Even the options we've got off the bench now. We've got decent options off the bench. We have to see more from this team now. We just have to see a lot more than what we're seeing.
I'm going to ask you both now. And guys, in the comments, feel free to let us know your thoughts as well. I'll be intrigued to see what everyone thinks. You have to decide one way or the other. There's no sitting on the fence. At this moment in time, Chris, I'll come to you first because I already know what your answer is. Are we going to stay up, Chris?
I would back us and say yes. I think I'm by no means confident because it can go either way. But if I was to say who's going to go down, I'd say Southampton, Bournemouth, and Everton. I think they're the 3 worst teams in the league.
Yeah,
I think you can write off a lot of the seasons because we had a different manager. We're going to play a completely different style of football. So we didn't beat them the first time round, but that's not to say we're not going to beat them this time. I think we're set up quite well for the running. We've got tomorrow's game. We've got a couple of weeks or a week and a half off. So he's got time with a fairly full squad to work on his approach. And other teams don't have that. You've got Palace. They've got a new manager coming in. I don't know. Well, maybe he's there already. I can't see what's going on, but they're not going to have as much time to work with the team. So I think we're better off than someone like Palace, despite them having more points, I'd say.
Getting some live updates as well from the Newcastle Forest game here. We thought that Newcastle had just gone in front, but it's been ruled out. It's offside, so it's still 1-1. Come on, Newcastle. Let's drag Forest back in if you can, please. Do us a favour, but Forest obviously great home record. That's something we could do with adapting. Oscar, do you think we stay up?
I think ultimately, no matter what I say, I don't think it's necessarily going to come down to the 3 worst teams. I think it's that tight at this moment in time. There's going to be an element of luck involved in it. I don't think there's any doubt about that now. There's going to be an element of luck. You've seen it for some teams. You've seen it against other teams. You know, the likes of, say, Everton, I think have been quite fortunate to win some of the games they have won. Luck's been on their side a little bit. And I do think there's an element of that. Do I think we'll stay up? The simple answer is, can we get Rodrigo Sinisterra back into the form they have been in this season in terms of goal scoring? If we can, yes, I do think we can stay up. If we can't, then no, we will not stay up unless we have goals in the team. There is, in the second bit of the season, there's been nothing short of a horrendous problem goal scoring wise, which is the one thing I didn't expect from us this season was to struggle to score goals. It's incredibly disappointing that has been the case in the second bit of the season. And we've actually improved a lot defensively, and that gives me a little bit more confidence. I think we're starting to slowly build a settled back 4. Ayling, Koch, Verba, Firpo is working really well, which is great to see. I think Firpo low-key has been in fantastic form. I genuinely would say, maybe a fantastic is a bit of an exaggeration, but it's probably been one of our best players second bit of the season. I don't see any argument against that. And listen, when Firpo first came back into the team, I was a little bit sceptical. I said, okay, 1 or 2 games, that doesn't completely change the perception. But I think we've got a manager who's come in from the Liga, plays a less intense style of football, a lot more patient with the ball. It gives the fullbacks more time to push up. Firpo is not the most athletic player. He's not an Alioski in that sense, but I think he's a lot more technical than Alioski. He can get up the pitch a lot better, because we play a slower brand of football. We're not end-to-end. You give the fullbacks time to get up the pitch. We hold the ball a little bit better under Javi Gracia. We can still improve in that regard. So yes, I do think Javi Gracia has had a good impact, but is that going to be enough? Because the other thing to take into consideration is Wolves have got Julian Lopetegui in charge. Palace are potentially changing manager. Leicester, you've got borderline potential world-class players in that Leicester team. Everton have got a survival specialist, Sean Dyche. West Ham are written down there, but they've got top quality. They've got World Cup players in that team, scattered with World Cup players in that West Ham team. So it's not just a case of have Javi Gracia improved us and that's going to be automatically be enough. It's not. There's going to be an element of luck involved. We need our top players to really show top form, like Rafinha did in the second bit of the season. Because let's be honest, last season we were kept up by Rafinha masterclasses against Brentford, against Watford away, against Norwich at home, where he just produced in key moments in key games, and that's ultimately what kept us up. If you look at it, the be-all and end-all, we probably only stayed up for that reason, if we're being honest. Rafinha really delivering in that final third, and that is ultimately going to be the exact same this season for me. So I'll say yes, but I'm not saying it with my chest.
Fair enough. I mean, I'll be honest. I think, obviously, I asked you guys not to stay on the fence, but I'm going to.
Oh, right, okay. I'll stay on the fence then. If we're allowed to stay on the fence, I will sit myself on that fence.
No, for me, I think, in all honesty, we're in trouble. I definitely have more confidence, like I've said earlier in the show. I've got more confidence in Gracia to do the job and keep us up, but I am preparing myself for the worst. I think most Leeds fans probably are.
I've done that for 20 years, mate.
Well, yeah. I'm preparing myself for the worst so that it doesn't hurt too much when it happens. I just want to move it along. I want to get to lineup predictions. Obviously, a bit of team news over the last couple of days. Tyler Adams is obviously out. That's a huge miss in that midfield battle against Ruben Neves, who is obviously one of probably their most important player. I mean, losing losing Adams for this game is going to be a big miss, but I'll be intrigued to see what you guys come to when we go for the lineup predictions. But other than that, there doesn't
Just to
seem
say on
to be...
Adams, though, I think some of the criticism he has had a lot of criticism in recent weeks, maybe on social media.
Yeah.
But I think that's because he's set his standards so high, which is fair enough. It is fair enough. I don't think he's been that bad. I think there's huge exaggerations in terms of his form. I think off the ball, he's done his job to perfection, to be totally honest. I can't think of one criticism in terms of his game off the ball, his pressing, his ability to win the ball back, protect the back four. I think he excels at that. Probably more than most midfielders outside the top six. Yeah. On the ball, he's never been a particularly fantastic passer of the ball in terms of he's a reliable passer of the ball. Yes, sometimes he does give it away from time to time. But in terms of what he's in the team to do, he does to a really good standard. And maybe we've been spoiled a little bit of Calvin Phillips. There was comparisons with Calvin Phillips. Maybe that was a little bit premature.
Well, different players.
They are actually different players. I think Calvin Phillips is an out-and-out holding midfielder. Tyler Adams roams a lot more to win the ball higher up the pitch. I think that's something to point out. I think at the start of the season, I thought Adams was our best player. And I still think he's one of our best players in the team. But that's a big blow in a game like tomorrow. In that midfield battle against Moutinho and Neves, you want a ball winner. You want someone with high energy pressing against those two and not allowing them to drop in between the lines and dictate play. You really do not want that against Wolves, especially if they go 1-0 up in the game, because they are the masters of just keeping the ball, keeping it ticking over, and doing a little bit of time wasting and things like that, really.
So go on, let's do some lineup predictions. Obviously, the back five has been the same now for the past 5 games in a row. So I'm assuming we're not going to make wholesale changes to this back five, are we? I mean, if everyone's fit, Chris, do you change anything in the defence?
I don't think you do. I think it's nice to have a sort of solid centre-back pairing. We've not had that for a while, especially at the start of the season. We're swapping and changing all the time. So I think it's got to stay the same. Would like to see Pascal get back in the team at some point, but not sure what's happening there really. But I think for tomorrow it's going to be the same back five.
So just in case anyone has been asleep for the last 5 games, that is obviously Meslier in net, Ayling right back, Koch and Verber as your centre half pairing, and the informed Junior Firpo as the stand-up player at left back. Oscar, no change there, no?
No reason to change that. It's looked the most settled it has all season. I don't think anyone would have guessed if you said the back four that starts giving us not so much clean sheets, but starts conceding 1s and 2s a game would be that back four. I don't think anyone would have believed you that would have been the back four. But
I hope you're not insinuating that people didn't have faith in Junior Firpo, Oscar.
I certainly am insinuating that.
But he's always been a £15 million Barcelona left back.
Well, the thing, he is showing form. You have to judge it on the here and now. He is showing form, and let's give him credit for that. He's got to carry it on. There's no doubt about that. But I think I quite like Firpo's character around the place as well. He does seem to be someone who's really getting it, what it means to be a Leeds player. And if we finally solve that left back problem, then yes, I am all for it. I'm absolutely all for it.
You know what I liked as well this week, and I'll be honest, I hadn't heard the stat until I've heard it this week on a couple of Leeds United podcasts. Firpo obviously hasn't, because of the move from Betis to Barcelona and then Barcelona to Leeds and injuries and whatnot, hadn't started 5 games in a row and completed 90 minutes for 2019, like nearly 5 years. So
and that's the thing, though. That momentum
makes a lot of difference on kind of how. I mean, I know I was incredibly critical.
But it's things like back fitness, general confidence, getting used to the team, getting used to the winger in front of him, the left centre back alongside him. I think Verber's had a big part in the form improvement as well. And I think with Robin Koch as well. I think he was getting away with a lot in the first bit of the season. Robin Koch, I thought he was pretty poor, to be honest, in the first bit of the season compared to the standard he can play at. We've seen him play at, in the previous 2 seasons, but I think Verber's improved his form a lot. I think Ayling, to be fair, has been playing pretty well. Yes, he did struggle a lot against Mitoma. I'm not going to deny that. He struggled a lot against Mitoma. But you show me a right back who hasn't struggled against
Ben Chilwell as well, to be fair. Just throwing it in there.
Maybe less so Ben Chilwell. I think I didn't think he struggled as much against Ben Chilwell, but certainly Mitoma. You don't see many right backs do a good job.
It's a high quality of opponent as well, to be fair, though.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the point I'm making. It is that, and there's there's no reason to change that back four for me, certainly at this moment in time.
Yeah. So the interesting bit, obviously, with Adams out, and I think I say interesting, I'm pretty sure we're all going to go the same. I mean, Oscar, if you had your own say, I'm sure you would go 4-3-3, because if I was in charge, I'd go 4-3-3. But I think we can relatively comfortably, I'd say, expect it to stay 4-2-3-1, because that's what it's been so far.
I wouldn't tomorrow.
You wouldn't? Well, I know you wouldn't. I wouldn't either, but it's going to be a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I think so.
Like it or not. So, I mean, go on, tell me who you would like it to be in a midfield three, because I know that's where you're going, but
it's not actually.
It's not, okay. So
no, it would be. It would be a 4-3-3 if Adams was fit. It would be that. I did consider putting JB in, but I think it's just he needs to play games. He needs to be off the bench a lot more than what he is. He needs a lot more minutes because he's a talent. And there was no point getting rid of Matthijs Klich if you're not going to give JB a chance, now that he's worked his way up the pecking order. It just seems ridiculous to me with Forshaw and Klich's injuries. I'd certainly have him on the bench tomorrow. But I'd go with a 4, it's like kind of a 4-2-2-2 or a 4-4-2.
Venus ball, yeah?
No, not in the same kind of way. In more of a Gracia way than a Marsh way, where very much two sitting midfielders, but the wingers are kind of playing more as wingers than what they were with Jesse Marsh. I'm not going back to like narrow stuff. I'm not saying do that.
The Rocker and McKennie, yeah?
Yes, it has to be, doesn't it? I think we've got no other option really. I was as much as I want Tyler Adams to be fit, he isn't going to be fit. Yeah. But beyond that, I would go Nonto off the right.
All right, chill out. We haven't asked Chris yet.
All right. Oh, you thought you wanted the you asked me for a 4-2-2-2. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry, Chris. I apologise. I got carried away.
Chris, who do you want in midfield, mate?
Well, yeah, I guess who you want and who you've got, it is those two and no one else, unless you're going to chuck Archie Gray in there for his first game, but you're probably not going to do that.
Just to confirm, Chris, would you go full penis as well, or are you going full 4-2-3-1?
Well, I'd probably like 4-4-2, but yeah, with wide players, probably a very similar system.
Yeah, okay.
It is going to be 4-2-3-1, though, I'm sure.
I mean, seeing as Oscar's already ruined the vast majority of his wingers, Chris, tell us your wingers.
I only said one.
I think I'd probably go Nonto and Harrison. I think Nonto, I don't like that we've become so reliant on him, and maybe the pressure was too much. Maybe it was good to take him out for a bit, but he is the one that is going to make something happen. But yeah, I don't think we can write.
Is that Somerville dropping out in your system, or Aronson, or both?
Yeah, I'll take Somerville out. I think he would be the person I'd like to see off the bench. I think he can make the most sort of impact. Just the way he plays.
Do you think as well? Obviously, I think with Somerville, the thing we've found lately with Ayling in particular, I think Ayling's looked so poor in the last couple of games because Somerville doesn't really offer him too much backup. Oscar, your wingers. So obviously, I think we heard you say Willie Nonto on the left. Who's on the right for you?
No, actually, no. Nonto on the right.
Oh, okay. You've
on the right. Let's put him in this position he plays for Italy. The only reason I say that is I think Nonto is better on the left than what he is on the right, but we've got no one who plays particularly well on the right, and I think Nonto is the one with the highest potential to play well on the right. So that's the only reason I'd make that decision. I think you've seen him do it for Italy. At times you've seen him do it for us, but his best work has mainly been off the left. But there is no reason why Nonto, he can operate at any angle, he can play on both feet. There is no reason why Nonto could not have a big impact tomorrow from the right wing. I don't see any reason why that can't be the case. So when I say 4, it's probably more of a 4-4-1-1 kind of system where you kind of have. I'll finish off the system anyway. I go Nonto on the right, Harrison on the left.
Yeah.
And then have Sinistera playing a little bit more central.
Okay.
Just off Rodrigo. Now there is specific reasons for this. There is specific. Reasons.
I'm calling you out on your bullshit. Very very early on, you were asked if you're dropping Paddy Bamford, and I'm pretty sure you said no at the time.
Yeah, but people are saying I'm saying Paddy Bamford out because he's full on not good enough. I'm not. That isn't the case. I'm not saying he has to go. Yeah. I don't really care if it's Harrison or Bamford tomorrow. I don't really care. I don't care if both play. I mean, I'm not. That's the case. I am not saying Harrison absolutely has to start. Bamford absolutely has to not start. I'm not saying anything like that. That's just the point I wanted to make.
Don't worry, I'll get there and I will. So it's fine.
But yeah, you are fair to point me out on that. You are fair to point me out on that.
Well, if I didn't, Scooby-Doo did anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Just thought
I've dropped it.
I'll be honest, and I'm surprised. I mean, I'm going to ask Chris first, just in case Chris doesn't say it, then I'll come back to my point. But I've got 4 players that, I mean, depending on how fit you think they are, surely it's a no-brainer to go with this front 4. But Chris, who have you got as your front 2 strikers? So you've obviously got Harrison on the right, Nonto on the left, yeah? Or is it the other way around?
I don't mind which way around it goes, to be honest. I mean, neither of them are probably fantastic on the right, but I probably do agree that Nonto has the potential to do it. But up top, I'll go Bamford and Rodrigo if they're both fit enough.
Okay. So, I mean, I know it's up in the air as to how fit Sinisterra is. It's up in the air as to how fit Rodrigo is. But when you've got the option of having Sinisterra on one wing, Willian Nonto on another, and if you have got a front 2 of whether it be Bamford and Rodrigo or Ruta, depending on what you think of Jorginho Ruta and Rodrigo, you've also got, Chris has obviously mentioned the name Jack Harrison in there. If you were to take one out, I think it's quite conclusive that we've all dropped Somerville. We've all dropped Brendan Aronson. Chris is the only one kind of campaigning to keep Harrison in. I think
I was.
You keep Harrison in?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, I've got lost.
You didn't let me finish my system. You didn't let me finish, man.
Oh wait, no, yeah, you had Nonto on the right, Harrison on the left.
I had a hipster system. I was cooking a real hipster system here, by the way.
Okay.
Let me cook.
4-1-1, and you had Sinisterra as a 10.
Well, no, playing more off Rodrigo. So it's kind of
you dropped Bamford, that was the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you want to put Sinisterra on the left and Bamford up top with Rodrigo, it doesn't really make much difference. It's going to still work in a similar way. Yeah. I think the reason I want to do that is because I think Rodrigo coming into the team for his first start in ages, I think he does need a bit of help up top, but I think he needs that pace alongside him. I think with some of Sinisterra instead of Bamford. I think the other thing with that as well is that it works better with Gracia's football. We've seen Gracia play a 4-4-2 at Watford or a 4-3-3. And I just think that personality works best, where he's got someone. He plays 4-4-2, but he never plays with 2 out-and-out strikers. He wants mobility in the front 4.
Like little and large, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, a little bit of that, but he very rarely has 2 natural out-and-out strikers. He wants one of the strikers to rotate with the winger on either side, and I think Sinisterra does that really well. You've seen Gerard Deulofeu at Watford do it pretty well with Pereira, at Watford and that lot. You've seen it a couple of times at Valencia as well. I personally think that works pretty well, and I think obviously Sinisterra. All his best work.
Not like a hybrid of all of these systems, because I've been saying for the last few weeks to you, Oscar, I wanted to see Nonto and Rodrigo as a front 2. So you could have Nonto and Rodrigo as that little and large front 2. Maybe have your Harrison on the left wing, Sinisterra on the right.
Yeah, listen, you can do that as well. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying I want Sinisterra. Just before people have a go at me in the comments, I'm just saying I don't want Sinisterra to just sit in the box for 90 minutes. That's not what I'm saying at all.
That's exactly what you just said. I'm just.
It's not what I said. It's not what I said. I want Rodrigo doing more of that in terms of just staying positionally disciplined, staying in the width of the penalty area for basically 90 minutes, occupying the centre backs. And the other thing is Rodrigo. His biggest weakness is holding the ball up. When you're playing a 4-4-2 or have another player in close proximity, there is less pressure on Rodrigo to hold the ball up. You've got 2 players, 2 outlets to play to. And I think ultimately that works better. Yes, it could also work if you go with Bamford and Rodrigo, but it doesn't seem to be something that Javi Gracia does a lot in that kind of sense. So that's what I'd go with personally. I think the one thing I'd have against with Sinisterra playing off the right is that I don't think he's played well there all season when he's been told to play there. I think his best work has come from that left channel or a little bit more centrally. And yeah, I'd probably rather have Sinisterra rotating with Harrison and just let Nonto stay as wide as possible, just causing problems 1v1 against Wolves left back.
Fair enough. I mean,
but again, the rotation's key. That's what I think you need. These players will be at their best being able to rotate positions.
I mean, there has been a great deal of that already, I suppose, haven't there? We've seen, especially the inverted wingers, Harrison and Aronson a lot actually last week, sort of swapping positions, and Somerville as well, sort of rotating that front three a lot. But I want to move it on to score predictions. If you haven't already, guys, if you are watching with us, smash a like, subscribe, all that shit. But if you can, just let us know in the chat what you think the score is going to be and who's scoring goals. Chris, I'm going to come to you first as the eternal optimist here. You're going to tell me Leeds are going to win like 5-0 and maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think most likely it's going to be a 1-0. I think it's going to be really low scoring.
That's pretty negative from you.
I don't think it's negative.
Chris, you're negative today, aren't you?
I think you're taking a away point at this stage of the season. I don't. As I said, I don't think the other teams around us are going to win. I could see us winning 1-0, but equally, if they score first, it's going to be tough to get back into it, let alone tear it home for the win. So
yeah,
I'd take a 1-0 and Bamford to score if he's half fit.
Streaky Bamf every time.
Yeah.
Oscar, what's your score predictions? Couple coming here in the chat. We've got a 3-1 Leeds. We've got a 2-2.
1-0 either way. Genuinely 1-0 either way.
Pick one.
I'll go 1-0 Leeds. Because I do think Wolves will sit in tomorrow. I do think they will sit in. You've seen a couple of times they've lost to Bournemouth recently, where they have been quite passive from the start. And I do think with that, if you do have one of our more ruthless players in there, we can score first. I think if we do score first, I think we can hold it. I do think we can hold it with Verba in the back line. I don't think Wolves have got good attacking players, but they don't score a lot of goals, so they probably aren't going to be the best at clawing the game back. But again, it's all if buts and maybes. I just think it's going to be a 1-0 either way. I will back us just for the reason that I think we'll be a little bit less passive than what Wolves are, and we might get a few more early chances to score. We can put one in the back of the net. I kind of see a similar game to Southampton coming, really. Something similar, maybe, but more tough than what Southampton had for us, really.
Again, as daft as it sounds, and I told you to get off the fence, I can agree with everything you just said. I kind of do think it is basically just if whoever scores first, they're both going to shut up shop. I mean, Lopetegui and Gracia have played each other twice before. Lopetegui won both times.
Lovely.
So I don't want to jinx anything, but like I was saying to Chris before you came on, Oscar, we do
want to jinx that because you can jinx that by saying he's got a terrible record.
Yes,
very good. Very good.
But yeah, we both tend to score in these games. They're not boring. They're not low-scoring affairs. I actually saw Derek comment with my prediction. He's hopefully read the blog. If you haven't already, go to the Twitter page. It's on there. But I went 2-2 as well. I think there are going to be goals. Like Chris said, actually, as daft as it sounds, I know I described the game as a must-win. But I also don't feel like a draw is the end of the world. Let's be honest, a draw's not getting us out of the relegation zone. We're still going to be in the shit. But we've got an international break.
I agree. Just to say, I agree with that. It's not as much as I was saying before. We have to push for the win. I still believe we have to push for the win.
Yeah.
A draw is not a disaster, but it's not changing the picture for us either. It's you just all you're doing with a draw is you're running. You've got even less games.
Wastes a week, doesn't it? I get that. It does. It wastes a week, but
it's not necessarily relegating us only drawing against Wolves, but it's not changing the picture. It's still us in trouble.
Yeah. I think for me, Gracia has made us harder to beat, and I have more confidence now in us going a goal behind and clawing our way back into it just to scrape a point out of it than I did a month ago. And at the same time, like you kind of said, Oscar, if we were to go 1-0 up, I have more confidence in us now to be able to shut that out and hang on to a 1-0. But I'll be honest, I don't expect us to score first. So I think it will be quite, in terms of the way the game will play out, I can see a similar result to Brighton. I can see them scoring first. We have to claw our way back in. They score again. We have to claw our way back in. But at the same time, I do still have some sort of faith in us to do that, which I never had in the past. So for me, I think it does hugely depend on personnel. If we have the attacking players that we have available on the pitch to be able to go and attack them in the way that we did with Fulham, despite the result, I think we can definitely score goals tomorrow. The one thing I wouldn't bet on is a 0-0, but at the same time, I think a point, as much as it's not the result any of us want, I'm not saying I'd take it, but like we were talking about in the long term, the next 4 games, we're going to get dicked by Arsenal. Let's be honest. When we come back, it's going to be Arsenal away. I'd take that 1-0 that we got on Chelsea, I'll be honest. But then if we could beat Palace and Forest at home, that point tomorrow against Wolves, 7 points out of 4 games, it doesn't look like a bad result. So if we can win it, trust me, I want us to win. I'd love to see a repeat of a Luke Ayling 92nd minute winner, but I don't think a point's a bad result, and I know people are going to hate that.
It's not a bad result, but again, I keep saying it. You've then got Arsenal away after that.
Yeah,
it's going to look pretty grim if we only get a point tomorrow. Let's be honest. We only take 1
remember
point.
As well, there's an international break.
Yeah.
And do you want to go into an international break off the back of a win? Obviously, ideally you would, but you don't want to go into an international break losing tomorrow, and you don't want to go into an international break off the back of a score draw where every other team plays tomorrow and gets another good result, and we're fucked. It does look like Newcastle have just won the game in the 92nd minute with a penalty, so it's 2-1 Newcastle. Fingers crossed that stays that way, because that would really help. So thanks, Newcastle. But yeah, I think we'll call it a night there, guys. I will just double check. Chris, where are you watching the game tomorrow?
So I'm actually in London tomorrow, battling the train strike to get to London. So I'll be flicking in and out of it, unfortunately.
So you'll be relying on me and Dad for updates on
I
how
will be, yeah.
it's going to be.
I'll see all the positive messages come through, hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look on Twitter, mate. They're much more positive than me
They
and
are.
Dad are during the game.
It's quite something, that group chat during games.
Yeah, sorry. Oscar, where are you going to be tomorrow? Where are you watching the game?
Just be at home, mate. Just be at home, watching the game, getting stressed out, swearing a little bit, and then the game will kick off, and I'll be swearing again. And listen, well, it is what it is now at this point.
Yeah, me too, mate. I'm going to be watching the game at home with the boys, and fingers crossed, we all have something to cheer about, guys. If you've waited with us throughout this painful hour and 20 minutes of negativity, I am very sorry. We can't say anything better, but come on, we are 19th. We all think a point at least tomorrow, so that's good. Nobody predicted a defeat, so
I did say 1-0 either way.
Shh, don't spoil
Okay.
it.
All right. Okay.
Go back to flight attending or whatever it is you do.
Quite happily will, if you get into the stream at any minute.
Before I end it, Oscar, do you want to do anything on football prizes, or are you good?
Yeah, guys, make sure you do check out football prizes. Lots of absolutely superb stuff on offer. Check out the latest competitions and the shop as well. We'll leave a link in the description for you guys to check out.
Perfect. Chris, as always, thank you very much for your time, and I will be messaging you in despair tomorrow, no doubt. Oscar, as always, thank you for joining incredibly late because you're fucking useless, but it's been great to have you as always.
Cheers, mate. I felt you really meant that.
I did. It was heartfelt. Guys, obviously, if you haven't already, smash like, subscribe, all that shit. If you haven't already, I don't know why you'd be watching if you haven't, but it is what it is. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Smile and wave, lads.